Hey guys, welcome back in to my channel. That's what people say on YouTube, right? I feel like we gotta find a new way to say hi. I'm just gonna say, hey fam. Today I have a topic that I have a bunch of notes on as well that I wanted to kind of chat about that has really been liberating me in my life. This like field of study and also this kind of approach to living has been super liberating for me as I integrate it into my life. And I found that I feel this deep sense of peace. So let's just get into it. I wanted to dive into some of the teachings of Dr. Demartini, who, let me read to you who he is. Dr. John Demartini is a thinker, speaker, and human behavior educator whose work integrates psychology, philosophy, metaphysics, neuroscience, and related fields. His signature process is the Demartini method, which is a structured sequence of questions intended to help people balance the equation of perception and transform polarized emotional reactions and integrate opposing values or judgments. One of his central claims is that people carry emotional baggage or charges, such as resentment, guilt, shame, etc., that can be neutralized via his method so they no longer unconsciously drive behavior. So I was listening to an episode with him on Know Thyself, and I was just really connecting in with his field of study and his kind of body of work. And from what I gather with this is we are all living in this beautiful experience that is perfectly orchestrated, and there is this divine nature in every single thing that happens in this reality field. If something is happening, it's because it's meant to be happening. If there is a challenge or a trigger, it's because that's a gift for someone that's experiencing that, right? There's like a wake up that's happening. And we can really just start to see the fractals of this experience, this universal experience, as so perfect, where one energetic experience leads to another, and it's this gentle unfolding of our consciousness and this evolution, this path of evolution that we're on, where you really just start to see that this entire experience is so divinely orchestrated, and there's no such thing as mistakes. And with his teachings, he describes that when someone is in an experience where they're viewing it as either like they're pedestalizing someone, or viewing it as like super positive, or the opposite of seeing it as like super negative, which is where a lot of kind of suffering can come from both places. They're not seeing the full picture of it. Whenever there's a charge, there's an opportunity to bring in like a higher perspective and understanding of that situation. And what he describes is he does a lot of he drops into a lot of like neuroscience and talks about how the brain reacts when we're in kind of like that fight or flight. And when we're in a place of like resistance to what is, we will act more so in accordance to our impulses and to our unconscious behaviors. And the whole foundation of what it is that he teaches kind of sits on this notion of wanting to help people interact with life from more of a soul way of being, where you are being guided through intuition. And if you can imagine that when we're in an experience that triggers us and we're holding on to this kind of negative perception on an experience, you're not really in alignment with the beauty and the perfection and the love, which is like literally the frequency of all of creation. And you're more so zoomed in on an experience like this and not seeing the full picture of it. And I think I really connect with his teachings and helping people kind of neutralize that, which I'll get to in a second, because this is the basis of what my mentor, Sarah Zula, has also guided and taught me with subconscious healing, where we always have the opportunity in situations that cause suffering to bring in a higher perspective, where whenever we are in an experience that brings up emotion, we're feeling triggered, we're feeling uncomfortable, it's not to bypass that and to say that we're not supposed to be feeling emotions and we're not supposed to have this human experience, but it's to utilize that energy and those emotions as these beautiful gifts that help us evolve and expand. And for subconscious healing, that is looking at ways that we are kind of perceiving ourselves or reality that make us feel limited, that make us feel small, that make us feel unworthy, disconnected, right? And you'll have these beautiful things that I like to call the mirror moments in life, where you have a challenge in front of you, but that challenge isn't just a 3D thing that randomly appeared. It's a mirror for you to look at where it is in your psyche that you have perfectly crafted this experience for your own learning and your evolution. So let me get a little bit deeper into Dr. Demartini's work. What neutralizing means in his framework. In Dr. Demartini's teachings, neutralizing refers to a process of reducing or dissolving the emotional charge or imbalance we carry towards events, people, or ourselves. The goal is to transform polarized, judgmental, or reactive feelings into more balanced, objective, and integrated awareness. Some of the features are: you may perceive that someone has done something wrong or bad from your view, And that means that there's an imbalance. And I want to stop there and just explain that when we are so attached to someone being kind of like the villain in our story and we're remaining in more of that victim consciousness, which is so natural, right? Like really give yourself the space to just feel into the human experience with this, where it's not necessarily even wrong to be in that kind of mentality. And it's actually a part of our learning, it's a part of our evolution, and we all have our places that we're still practicing this in. But when that comes up for us, it's such a beautiful opportunity to see where we're looking at the tapestry of life and just zoomed in like this, where that experience is granting us this opportunity to just zoom out and to see the perfection of how that person was energetically aligned with what it was your soul wanted to remember in that moment. And you start to see the divinity of every experience. And with Dr. Demartini's teachings, what he wants us to really lean into is to have an experience that maybe we're seeing as negative, and to start to list out all of the positive things that have came through that experience. And as you list out all of the positive things, the things that you learned, the gifts that it gave you, and this is something that my mentor also teaches with subconscious healing that I've taken into my own work as well, is that when you're noticing a limitation that maybe you took on at a time when you didn't know any better, there's actually a gift there. And I can see the parallels of neutralizing that my mentor has taught me, Sarazula, where you really start to give the client an opportunity to see what that limitation has actually gifted them. And you'll maybe drop into someone who has a limitation of thinking that they're doing this all on their own. But then that limitation allowed them to build this like resilience and this grit to really get stuff done in life, and this like inner power. That's just a simple example. But I can see the parallels of the work that I do with subconscious healing and how there's this really sacred moment of bringing someone who is in this emotional state into kind of a state of equilibrium. And what Dr. Demartini does is he has these list of questions that can guide you or the client to elevate to that place of neutrality. And the whole point of this is that when you are in that place of neutrality, he describes more of the neuroscience of what happens in the brain and how you'll start to access more of that intuition. And he really does explain more of the scientific reason to this. But what I found really beautiful is that this neutralizing effect of taking something that was negative, or taking a person that you were feeling negative about and bringing them to this neutral place, you actually gain sovereignty in that experience to connect in with your own inner guidance. Because a lot of the times when we're feeling that we're in that triggered state, or the emotions start to come up, we're not really acting out of the soul, and it's more so from impulse, it's from ego, it's from fear, which again, let's neutralize the fact that that could be even a bad thing, because it's not. We are always evolving, we're always learning, and we're always going to be rendering experiences that are perfectly crafted for our soul. And I know I can think in my life right now, there's still places in my life that I'm learning to embody this. I'm learning to integrate this fully into my cells. And are there moments that I'm still acting out of maybe a little bit of ego or a little bit of fear? Of course, like I'm not a perfect human, and I just want to give you that space to feel into the beautiful journey that we're all on with this path. And as you listen to these teachings, it's not like, okay, you need to go be the perfect being and the enlightened being that is ascending into these higher realms tomorrow, but just allow yourself to like feel into the journey of this. So I want to share more about his neutralizing method. Dr. Demartini leads you to pose questions about both sides of the situation, benefits and drawbacks from different perspectives, including what you can learn and how you may share responsibility. By uncovering overlooked positives or compensations, you can balance your view. Yeah, so this is really beautiful. I'm like really seeing the parallels of kind of the work that I do with my client sessions, with the subconscious healing work that I do. And there is something that happens in the brain that he can explain more of the scientific reason behind, where when you go from thinking and perceiving something as so negative to neutralizing it, you just start to regulate yourself and create a coherence in the body. And the way that I've been integrating this into my life is just noticing, another thing that I learned through him is where I would maybe have judgment on a certain person because they're doing a certain thing. And what he shares is that when we are judging someone else, it's really just mirroring to us a part of self that maybe we have disowned or judged within. And you can really feel into this freedom of when you're seeing someone in maybe a shadow aspect of self that you feel a little bit of judgment from. He was guiding the listeners to start to take this practice of thinking about a time and a space where you were kind of showcasing those same behaviors. And he was describing the science behind why it's important to have like a time and space locked in to like bring your mind to that actual location. And it is such a beautiful neutralizing practice where we find that when we have judgment towards other people, It's actually just showing us where we're ready to reveal love and acceptance within ourselves. And on the flip side, there was this really beautiful practice of the opposite. When we're seeing someone and we are pedestalizing them, he was sharing this really beautiful technique of noticing that what you see in that person, you can only see that because it's also within you. And what he was prompting and guiding the listeners to do was to think about kind of the same thing as what with the judgment. Think about a time and a place where you were in flow with that way of being, and start to see how you are just using this person as a mirror into the energy and the state of being that you hold within. And I've been doing this in my life where I have certain teachers or beings that I see as these like really powerful forces that are creating these beautiful lives and have these incredible bodies of work. And I'm just seeing how in these moments where I'm feeling almost that sense of like awe and admiration for another being, that I can only see that because that's also what's within me. And I invite you to think about people in your life that maybe you've put up on a pedestal, and just start to see that what you see in them is also found in yourself. And I feel like one of the biggest things with my YouTube channel and sharing more of my shadows and just being even more me and allowing myself to be even more seen is that I really want to bring you on a journey of de-pedestalizing me. And if you are someone who has been a client of mine or in the student role where you're receiving from me, something that Bella and I really just, it's like a core value of what we do in the world of Out of Our Minds and the group containers that we hold, is to really showcase all aspects of self and the journey of being an entrepreneur, being a creator. Like, we share it all. That's why we created that whole private membership for people to come in and receive exclusive kind of like peek behind the curtain content for the beings that want to know more of like the real of what goes on with running the business and just being like a human on this earth that is evolving at rapid speeds. And we are literally just people just like you. And something that I want to give you permission to do is just to think about how I'm just a human. Like, I have shadows, I have bad days, I have things that trigger me, and where you can start to just see, maybe it's not me, but maybe it's like another teacher that you follow or just another person. Just start to take them off this pedestal of thinking of them as some teacher that's like up there on the mountain and you're down here. Because I know in my life I have those moments of seeing like where I'm pedestalizing people, and then I just see into the humanity, like the humanness of them. And it's a really, really beautiful process that I think just allows us to feel into the oneness of all of this. And that's something that Bella and I really just keep as like a core foundation to the world of Om and our community. So I wanted to read through just some of the key techniques that Dr. Demartini teaches and like features that are within the neutralizing process, and then you can go do your own research on it. But here are some key components or tactics that Dr. Demartini typically uses in facilitating neutralization. Questioning both sides. You systematically ask when you see, questioning both sides. You systematically ask what you see as the drawbacks and what might be hidden benefits, or how the person could be justified. So that's thinking more so about like when you feel yourself in more of a victim mentality, see into what the hidden benefits are of this experience, or see in their own, like take the seat of their soul and see through their own perspective. And I found I do this a lot in my life, where if I'm in an experience and I'm feeling a bit triggered or challenged, I just take a moment to really see the experience through the other person's eyes as best as I can, right? And it gives me an opportunity to just kind of feel into that neutralizing, like, okay, I don't need my ego to be activated here. There's clearly a reason that this experience is coming up for both of us, and there's gifts in it for all. Owning projections, realizing that what you judge in others, you also project and repress in yourself. Recognizing this reduces blame. Symmetrical awareness / duality. Demartini often speaks about the need to see opposites, positive and negatives, in any trait or event, and to integrate them. So this is what I was saying before, of listing out the positives, listing out the negatives, and just allowing that to kind of like balance the scale. Tracing impacts across life roles and values. You examine how the event or person has affected you in different roles, work, family, self, social, to find overlooked compensations. Integration and action from a neutral center. Once an emotional charge is reduced, one is freer to choose deliberate responses rather than reactive ones. I feel like this is like the core teaching here, is that whenever you feel like you're acting out of a reactive place, just spend time in this neutralization process, feeling into the benefits of the experience, feeling into different kinds of like positive and negatives that you can put down on a piece of paper to really start neutralizing that in your mind and in your heart. And this is like a process of emotional alchemy. Now, I will say for this, it's so important to allow yourself to really feel before jumping into some sort of like intellectualizing activity. I feel like these types of teachings are really powerful after you move through the actual feeling and allowing yourself to drop into any sort of emotions that come from that experience. Because in that face of the emotional charge, that's when you can start to neutralize it from more of an empowered place as opposed to just bypassing it. So definitely allow yourself to feel and bring this in when you feel ready to find that like alleviation from the experience. So yeah, this has really been such a powerful technique and practice to bring into my life. And I'm just seeing how in the past there was this very like kind of black and white perspective that I would have even on darkness and like the powers that be. And this has really helped me feel into the divinity and the oneness that exists in this entire experience. Because when you're labeling things as bad and really judging them, it's just an opportunity to feel into honestly the divinity of shadows in and of themselves. And I feel like for me personally, when I did that for the collective shadows, it allowed me to find peace and stability within my own essence and having shadows and fractals of my beings that are not as aware or maybe void of light. And this neutralizing practice has given me so much power and so much peace. So I really do invite you to lean into researching more about Dr. Demartini. I'll post the podcast episode that I listened to here, and you can click into it and go watch it. And you're here for a reason. Like there's a reason that you are tapping into these teachings, and maybe you're meant to go down a little Dr. Demartini rabbit hole. So thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow, guys.